here I am. It's Sunday morning, and I'm realizing now that fortuitously I called these hang with me videos because I'm not going to do any stitching today. I have work to do for the show, so I thought I'd sit here and stretch some pieces that need to go into frames that came in this week and talk to you while I do that. And so if you want to stitch, feel free to stitch. I have heard that a number of you do different tasks, and I'm glad to hang out with you while you just kind of sit and hang out and chill. It's a good thing to do. I have a few pieces that I finished up real quick for the Galleria show, things that were so close to completion. I grabbed a couple of things that have been done for a while that I hadn't finished at all. This one is called Cockadoodle-Doo by Barbara Anna Designs, and I've got this in my Needlework shop online, but I'm also taking it to the show. I think it's awfully cute. I did a companion piece by her called Funky Bird, and that was actually the first Barbara Anna piece that I ever stitched, and I had a lot of fun. I like her color choices, and they're actually really fun to stitch because they're not, super symmetrical. Things are a little crazy and weird and wonky, and I love that. And so I'm just going to stretch these. I got a frame to match the other one, which if you haven't watched them, or if you have, even if you have, the frame that I used is on Funky Bird, the same one that I'm using for this one. I thought that way they'd look kind of like a pair. There is one more bird in the series called like Mary Pepper's Pouch or something like that. I'd like to stitch it. I don't know if I'll frame it or actually make it into a pouch. It's really cute done as a pouch, so maybe, I don't know, maybe we can make it as a pouch. But if you're interested in learning how to stretch, I do have tutorials on my channel. I'll put a link below to those so you can learn how to stretch needlework. It doesn't take me very long anymore because it's something that I've done for years and years. And I just use nickel-plated pins or stainless steel if I can find them. If you're kind of, in a good spot at the right time, you can come across when they've got notions on sale. And so I got a bunch of pins recently at Hobby Lobby. All their notions were half off, so I bought every single pack of pins because it just makes it so cheap then to stretch your own piece. I'm not gonna even say that. I think I had Neblet stretch something for me once a couple of years back when I was, working more than full time, and what they charged me was a pittance. They're such a reasonably priced, and not even reasonably priced, they're like crazily priced. And so I let them stretch it for me. But I enjoy it, and I'm kind of fussy about things being straight in the way that I like them straight. And I'm not saying they don't do a good job, because they really did, but it doesn't take me very long. And I guess, you figure you save $12 or $15 here and there, it all adds up over time. I posted a video yesterday, a regular Stitchy Tube video, and right away, like a couple hundred views in, I already had a thumbs down, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't often get thumbs down, and I don't care, it's fine. But I hadn't had a thumbs down for a while, and I got one right away, and then I got another one, and then I got another one. So I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? So I sat here and worked and put my video on so I could listen to it and see if I could figure out what I said that I was getting some thumbs downs. And you never really know. But then I got to talking on my video about how I had shopped recently at the Gap online, and I bought some jeans that were really... They weren't just longs, they were talls, and I had never ordered talls before. I have long legs, and so I love being able to order longs. But they didn't have longs in my size in the sale one, so I ordered tall, and they were so tall. And so when I was talking about it on my video, I made the comment that that they had gone up to a certain part of my anatomy. And I won't say it because I don't want to get more thumbs down. But I said that if you put the jeans so that they touch the floor, that they went all the way up to a central part of my chest. The center of that part is shaped like a pepperoni. Women often cover them up. Rhymes with schwipples.
The password is nipples.
Anyway, so I said that word, and I'm wondering if that's what it was, that people didn't like hearing that word. And it's just a part of our body. It's just a part of our body. And I didn't say it to be funny. I said it to be accurate. I didn't even think about it. It was the fact that that's where they came up to. So if you were offended by that, I do apologize. It's not my intention to offend people. I do like to make you smile. You can see this one I'm already half done stretching it. It goes really quick. I may end up having to drag out a piece of needlework because I like to talk to you guys for a little while. I got up this morning, had some yogurt, and went back to bed for another hour. It's hard to... I don't get worried about these shows. Going to a show. Like I've mentioned before, I don't like being gone from home. I'd rather be with my cats and my family, in no particular order. But I do have fun at the shows, and I try to do a good job. I try to make things, super fun for people, and I want to have, a cool booth that people remember and want to take pictures of and say nice things about. So it's not really that I worry. I don't worry, like, what if our U-Haul cargo van crashes and everything is burned in a fiery blaze? I should probably call my insurance agent and make sure that I'm insured. But I don't worry about that. If it happens, it happens. Hopefully we'll get out. But it's just more anxious, like, okay, I've got things to done. My mind is like working, and I've got a to-do list still that is it's a little longer than a full college ruled notebook long. But the way I've been doing it, I'm realizing now, the way that I've been taking care of my to-do list for the show is a long time ago. Like, I've been preparing for several months, and really the last couple of weeks, I've been working all day. I wake up, I eat, I work, I eat a little, I do whatever, and I'm working all the time, which is fine because it's super enjoyable. But, so the way I've been taking care of my list is kind of like how I eat dinner, which is I have all these things, and I eat a little of this, and I eat a little of this, and I eat a little of this, eat a little of this. I circle around and do a little bit at a time. And then there are people that when they eat like, I'm going to eat my potato. Now I'm going to eat my meat. Now I'm going to eat my salad, right? And I don't eat that way. I eat little so it disappears in increments. I like it when I'm eating and my food all ends up like where it's like I'm taking the last bite of each thing. I don't know why that is. I think we probably all do it, have a technique to our eating, and we just don't really realize it. So that's how I've been taking care of my tasks, is I knew all these things that I wanted to have and order in and take care of, and I do a little at a time, a little at a time, a little at a time. The problem with that technique is at the end, my list is still really long because there are a lot of things to finish up. But the good news is that I only have a couple of bites left in each area. All right, I'm going to need to tug on that a little bit more. I only have a couple bites left for each thing. So like I have hand-dyed fabric yet to iron. That'll take me half an hour. And then I'll be able to cross that off. So all these things. And then I have things on my list that are kind of like optional things that are like, if I still have time, I will do this. And if not, I just won't have that thing in my booth. So we'll see. Can I pull it tighter? This fabric is stiffer. It's not a Zweigert fabric, so it doesn't have as much stretch to it. It's a little bit more firm. I don't know what, I bought it on eBay, and I like it, but it's just got a different feel to it. I realized as I sat down here, I was going to like sit back in my chair and work, but I really prefer to stretch over a table, and I realized that this massage chair that I got goes up really high, and it's actually a perfect work surface here for me. So that's a nice surprise. I love my little massage chair, masseuse chair, I guess it is. It doesn't massage me. It's for masseuses. This is gonna look cute. Let's make sure it's gonna fit in the frame. I always like to see, isn't that gonna be cute? Super cute. Very, very cute. Then I'll get out my, then I will get out, pull on that a little bit more. Get out my brad gun and my tape gun and everything, and we'll get her all closed up. I think the person who measured this didn't measure quite right, so it's going to be a little tight on the top, but that's how it is. That is how it is. So let's see, what else do I have left to do? I've got to I'm making a bunch of needle minders, and they are cool. So those will all need to be, I had a batch that dried last night. I'll do one more batch today. I'll end up with about, I think about 350 needle minders. I have taken this type of needle minder to the show before, to Nashville actually, and I sold a metric ton of needle minders. And so with this many people coming, what I have found in the past when I've taken these ones that I make, and I'll show them to you, I'll show some to you next Stitchy Tube. But people tend to buy them like 10, the people who like them. And so with 400 people come into the show, or however many people, I wanted to make sure to have a lot of needle minders, and then I'll just sell them at other shows in the future. So I've got to do that. I finished cutting and labeling and pricing all of the Picture This Plus fabric that I got in for the show. I got in 2 huge boxes. It was probably like 65 yards or 70 yards. And I wanted to make it to where, it comes in and it's a yard. And not very many people want a whole yard. And I guess if I run into somebody who wants a yard, I can just say, I'll order it for you when I get back. So I cut each yard into 2 quarters and a half. Because sometimes you want a half yard if you really like the color, or you have a piece that's really big and you want a half yard just for whatever, for a big piece. And then I'm willing to cut those halves into quarters, into 2, so that there are 2 quarters if I run out of the quarters. But I'm just trying to cut down, since it's just going to be Graham and I working in the booth, and he's a newbie. I didn't want it to be too, fuzz. I didn't want it to be too crazy, where there was too much to do. When I take my girlfriends to help, sometimes I have way too much to do, and they're such good sports to help me finish up my last minute things. But I guess with my fibromyalgia now, pacing is what I'm trying to learn to do. Like, what are my limits? And I'm bad about it because I'm like, what's my limit? And I'm going to go right up to my limit. No. I do plan on, I think at Christmas, I may take a nice siesta. You know what I mean? And just, not a long nap, but I may just take a vacation, like a week or 7, 8 days, 9 days or whatever, and just try not to do any work. Because I've just historically been bad about that in my life, and it seems like any time I've taken vacations, because we've never, we just don't often live near family, that we go somewhere. And I was reading an article this last week online about how traveling, that actually if you're going to take a vacation, you will be more rested if you do like a staycation and you take a long weekend, like a 4-day weekend. That when you go on vacation, you're not coming back rested. You're coming back to a huge list of things to do, and you've traveled, which is tiring. And sometimes you get sick when you travel, especially if you fly. And it's just, I don't know, because I think when people go on vacation, sometimes they're like, okay, we got to cram in as much as we can. That's straight enough. We got to cram in as much as we can, and that's not restful. What's restful is resting. That's what's restful. Okay, so I always have them cut me a piece of mat board just for the back, and I never really care what size. And then that way I can, when I point this in, I'm going to get up and get my point gun because I might as well point it in since it's together. So excuse me while I go over to my drawer and get Brad my Brad gun. You can watch Zero groom himself. I have that drawer over there is for my tools. So this is Brad, my Brad gun. And if you don't have a brad gun and you want to try doing your own framing, I highly recommend it. Mine has always stuck, so I have to slam it after every brad, which makes some of the cats upset. And that's probably not super restful for you guys either. I'm sorry to make so much noise. Okay, that's it. I mean, he's framed. Ta-da! On to the next one. Happy with that. That looks really, really cute. So, oh, did they... Wonder what... I got extra... I don't know what that's for. I don't know what that's for. Okay, let's do this one. Okay, so this one is a Brenda Gervais piece. Fruitful Labor's Rest, I think it's called. And I don't have as many of those charts to take to market as I would have liked. Brenda's charts are so popular because she's so talented. But then the problem sometimes is that it's hard to get them in. So, but that's a good problem to have, to be popular. So this one I got, this frame, and I've used it before for a prairie schooler. I think it's kind of a barnwood looking. My frame shop is, they're funny because their taste is different than mine, which it happens that way. They're they work with a lot of art that maybe is more formal. Ooh, I hope this is going to be okay. This is tight. It's okay. I like it tight. So they take in a lot of formal art, diplomas, and professionally taken photographs and things like that. And I like things to look broken, rusty, and they carry some good frames for that look. But a lot of times when I take my needlework there, I think often when they frame needlework, it's people doing maybe more, I don't want to, like just traditional needlework, like roses and things like that, because Hattiesburg doesn't have a needlework store. So I think a lot of people who stitch here maybe go to Joann's and whatnot. Okay, let's make sure that's gonna move this a little bit this way. So when I take my pieces in, a lot of times, I'll walk in and one of them will come around the counter and start pulling frames down, and they're not, sometimes they pick a frame and I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But a lot of times I want the crustiest looking frame ever. I have this one that I got for the for this piece, October 3rd. It's called Countdown to Halloween, Spooky Countdown by Primitive Hair. Super, super, super cute. Well, they have this frame that is called Carbon Black, and it looks like burned charcoals, which I like that. That is really cool. So that's what I like. Oh boy, okay. This one's going to be a little bit tricky to stretch because it seems like it's wanting to kind of veer off to the right at the top. So I'm going to do this a little. Sometimes, stretching, it takes a little bit longer because I don't know. I like it to be where the threads are at right angles. A lot of times if you let somebody else stretch your piece for you, if you really look at it, the stitching part may look straight, but the threads don't look straight. Does that make sense? See, like these, I'm already, that may be okay. And then I'm going to take a, what do you call them? The little roller things, the lint rollers. I'll take a lint roller to the front of each of these. I'm not putting glass on any of these. I enjoy looking at my needlework sans glass. And yes, they get dusty sometimes, but that's what I like. Yeah, this one's going to be real tight. What else do I have to do? Gosh, I've got a whole big list. I got to pack some orders today. I've been keeping up on my emails for the most part. And I think all of my shipments are in except one. And she said she would expedite it tomorrow morning and send it directly to the hotel. So that's awesome because I really wanted to have that shipment ready. for the show. So that is cool. And I've been using my new price gun, so that's been cool. I've already gone through a whole roll, which is what, 2,000 maybe or something? I have almost all the charts priced. Most of the fabric is priced. I have a list for Monday, so it's like, okay, this is the last day, and that's the day like a lot of the stuff from the shop I'll pack up. And I've got to get the site where it's on vacation. You know, they don't have a vacation mode, unfortunately, you know, where you can just have a message that pops up that says we're closed until such and such a day. I wish they did, because I'm going to have to figure out a go around, a redirect. And are you going to choke? Fitz, are you okay? The cats never like it too much when I go, I don't think. They do fine. They do fine. Fitzy, are you choking? Whoops. So, let's see. Let's do this. Are you done? I don't want you people to have to listen to him cough up a hairball. But that's not what he was up to. He was just had a something, a frog in his throat, I guess. This piece was funny because I got to the end where it was like I was ready to finish it, and I had just all I had left was these little sunflowers at the bottom, and I couldn't find the thread for the flower part of the sunflower. It was toffee sampler threads, and luckily I had another skein here, but it wasn't quite the same color, which is fine because sunflowers can be, you know, a little different. But I put all the threads away, finished it up, and then this week I found the thread. I had dropped it here beside the stitching chair. I didn't even look on the ground. So that's where it was. That's a frustration. Stitching frustrations. Pretty minor. I wanted to make meatloaf yesterday, but it looks like I'm going to make meatloaf today probably. It's pretty easy. Throw it together, pop it in the oven. I'll have Harrison make some sides, because I got stuff to do. I got to print a bunch of my charts yet to take. That won't take too long. I'm almost done with that. Like I said, all these things are like almost done. Everything is almost done. So it's going to be kind of a flurry of crossing things off my list, which will be very satisfying, because I think that's where some of the anxiety comes from. Is it's just like I'm still looking at the list and it's not getting shorter because I keep thinking of things, and also I haven't been crossing very much off. I have a little thread here that's wanting to peek out. My backs aren't super neat, so sometimes my threads show, but I'll use a chopstick or a scissors to kind of tuck them in, so now you can't see it. When you don't do things the right way, I guess, you got to find workarounds. But that's my workaround. Okay, so that's just about done. This is looking pretty good as far as being straight, which I was worried about. The one that I'm worried about more, I'm not worried about it, it's just going to be trickier, is this one. This is a la-di-da piece, and it's long and skinny, and it has a definite border, and it is, you know, it's a trick to make sure that that border ends up looking really straight, because that's not what it wants to do. It wants to just wiggle a little bit here and there. You can make it so it doesn't veer off, you know, drastically, but you get these little bumps. So I like those lines to be nice and straight if I can manage it. This one doesn't really have definite borders, but it is long and skinny. And now this is a Zweigart fabric, and so I tend to find that those do have a little more pull in them. I had a piece once, a long Halloween sampler that I think I gave to my mom. I mean, it was long. It was really long and skinny. And I took it to, where did I take it? to Michael's, maybe? And this was a long time ago, 20 years ago, easily. 20 some years ago. And I had them measure it and stretch it. And when I came to pick it up, the needlework went like it touched the top of the frame and the bottom, and then the sides had a space. And I wasn't super happy with it. I was like, ooh, and they were like, yeah, well, the fabric kind of stretched. Yeah, well, it doesn't fit. They wouldn't redo it. So I think I gave it to her like that. Sorry, Mom. They wouldn't redo it. And I didn't want to buy a new frame because I would have had to restretch it too. It would have had to been redone completely. So, stitching problems, right? Not a big deal. Got a couple more threads here that want to be tucked in. They want to be tucked in for the night, little thread. Oh, little thread. See if I can do it. Ooh, ooh. I did it. I did it. Workarounds. I have too many workarounds. I have too many workarounds, guys. It's my style. It reminds me of well, I don't know. Is that going to be? I'm going to take these out and redo that. I have an aunt who has a pretty clean house. Like if you look, and maybe she's not this way anymore, but when growing up, I'd spend time there, and with my cousin, and their house always looked clean, tidy, whatever, but any drawer you opened was a disaster. The fridge, disaster. The freezer, disaster. The garage, disaster. But everything else, but it looked put together. Just don't open anything. I'm sure we all know people like that. I'm not saying my drawers are the neatest either, but they're not disasters. I wouldn't call them disasters. Don't open the drawers. There's always that common joke about people looking in other people's medicine cabinets. Do people do that anymore? I feel like most of us keep our medications and things in the kitchen these days. That's what we do anyway. I just keep mine right on the counter. That way I don't forget to take them. This piece was fun to stitch, and I always like stitching pieces that have a lot of elements, you know, like stitch a bird, stitch a flower, do this, because you make progress so quickly. And this one was great because the top part took a long time, but it was fun. And then the bottom went quickly because it was mainly words and kind of repeated motifs. So I could just memorize what these flowers looked like, and just, you know, they're all perfectly spaced, and it was pretty easy to just not even have to look at the pattern. I've started wearing shoes around the house. Helps my feet feel better. I have these great slippers that I got online. I was never really a slipper person. Or Crocs. I never had a pair of Crocs, and I guess I heard they're going out of business. Everybody's all crocked out. Everybody's done with Crocs, which is fine because there's got to be 10 million pairs of Crocs. There's probably more than that. I wonder how many Crocs they made. I bet it was a lot. A metric ton of Crocs. It was way more than a metric ton of Crocs. But I never wore them. They always looked kind of funny to me. Or Uggs. I never had a pair of Uggs. Remember Uggs? Everybody was all into Uggs. Those looked comfy. But Uggs and Mississippi do not match. That's a sweaty foot is what you end up with. A sweaty foot. I'm not even going to bother taking any needlework to try to do, I don't think, at Galleria. Because it's just, I'm going to have to work or rest. Those are going to be my options. And I'm with Graham. So we'll go, if, you know, we have time, we'll go find a place to eat, or, you know, see if there's anything fun to go look at. But really, you end up at the shows like this, like Nashville, for instance. We go to Nashville. There's a needlework show in Nashville every year, and I've gone to very many of them. And the entire weekend I'm in the hotel. I don't, well, I shouldn't say that. We usually go out to eat once or maybe twice, and you might have to run to the store to get, you know, aspirin or something, or Band-Aids. But, you know, people say, oh, Nashville, that's a really fun. I have no idea. I have no idea if Nashville is fun. I'm sure it is. Oh, and it's fun. Nashville is fun, but not for the reasons that they think. You know what I mean? We're not going and watching music shows every night. We are working. I suppose I should check this in the frame. Make sure that it's looking straight. I think it is. Yeah, it looks good so far. Isn't that cute? Brenda. She cranks out pieces, like amazing pieces, faster than we could possibly stitch them. What are we all going to do? What are we going to do? She uses a lot of different types of threads in her designs. I think that's neat. You know, different companies. Okay, I don't want this to get off. Tucking in all my little threads. I didn't think they were going to show as much as they are because the fabric seemed pretty, like a pretty tight weave, but they're showing just a little bit. I came across, she's got those little pieces that fit into, you can get little, you know, like, oh, what do they call them? Pocket watches. They've got little pocket watch, you know, kind of blank pocket watches you can get at the craft stores in with the scrapbooking section. And she does, she's got a few patterns where there's something that goes inside the pocket watch, and I think that would be fun to do. It would be fun to have a Halloween tree with Halloween ornaments. Squeak. Oop. See, this is good. I'm crossing several things off my list. I wanted to hang out with you guys today, just for a little bit, and also get things done, because I'd be able to cross these off my list. I've got, I thought it was near here. I'm going to see if I can reach over and grab these to show you guys. Continue with your work. I'm going to lean down. Here's this. Where's the other one? Oh, I don't see it. Anyway, I've got this. It's probably dusty. This is an old Cricut design called Fresh as a Daisy. And it's in a, this is a Hog River tray. You cannot get these anymore. You can't get them anymore. But this was made to go in this tray. And I have it in my bathroom with glass. But I think I'm going to take the glass off and hang it on the wall with command strips maybe. And but I'm going to take the glass off and take this to the Galleria show. I found one of my distributors still carries this chart, and it's really, really cute with the violets and the daisies. I love violets. My grandma grew violets. I used to grow violets. Maybe I can start that again. You know, my life has been so busy the last however many years. I used to have violets when I lived in Fargo, African violets, that I grew in the window that faced the north. And every Sunday morning, I would water them just a little. And every once in a while, I would give them a little, you know, food specially formulated for African violets. And they were beautiful. They bloomed all the time. And then we moved, so I think I gave them all away just because I was, you know, it took us 3 days to drive from North Dakota to Mississippi with 2 kids and a dog and 2 cars. That's a lot of driving. So I gave them away, and I just never really replaced them. Steve got me an African violet on my 40th birthday, I want to say. And I think I probably didn't take care of it as well as I should have. It kind of lingered and eventually just kind of died. But they have so many lovely kinds of African violets, and it would definitely remind me of my grandmother. She had them on one of those really old-fashioned plant stands, you know, where it's kind of steps or something. And they were in her front room. Well, that's done too. You guys, I'm knocking it out. So what I do is I do this on the table. Just to make sure all the pins are in. We're going to check it for accuracy. Okay, that's good. It's tight. It is tight, but not too tight. I like it tight. They don't get me. They don't get me that I like it tight. You know, a lot of frame shops will put like, you know, suggest that you have an inch of fabric showing, and I like it right up to the edge because it, I don't know, it just looks like full and focused that way. Okay, I'm just going to point this in a little. I don't want you guys to suffer too much, so we'll just point it in on the top and bottom, and I'll finish that later. But here it is. Very, very cute. I got 4, just to tell you how cheap Neblitz is. I got 5 needlework pieces and all the framing supplies, like the frames, one of them I have mats. I'll show you that in a second. $200 for, you know, the frame, the mat board, the foam core for 5 pieces. So $40 a piece on average. Obviously, some of these were, you know, more expensive than the others. This frame here, the charcoal-y looking frame, was the most expensive. It was the biggest, and I want to say it's like $9 a foot or something. I'm not sure. And I don't know, maybe they give me extra discounts because they like me or something. But let's do all our trebles now. So I'll show you. This one is the La-Di-Da All Our Trebles, and I picked out this kind of barnwoody looking red frame that looks cute with the berries. And they have this frame in white and kind of like a robin's egg blue, I want to say, and then like a kind of a minty blue-green. And so that's, I think if I've used this frame before. Yeah, I have. I'm going to get it. Hang on. I'm doing show and tell, but my room is so full of stuff, I'm going to trip over boxes. All right, I'm going to stand on a chair, so if you hear a thump and then I don't come back, somebody call an ambulance. Because it's way up high. Okay. Because I'm taking this one to Galleria too. What do you do? Oh, I make videos where I'm not really in the picture that often. This one here. And this is a Samsara piece, same frame. And I'm taking this model also. And I was able to get all the charts. There are button packs that you can get with this. I picked out just some Jabco buttons and did that instead. The buttons that she used were really cool. They were like glass. I don't know if they were hand blown or what they were. Little glass buttons that you stitched. You did some back stitching around them to make them look like bugs' legs, like they were bugs. And that was neat too. But I just did it a little different. Okay, how did I do on this piece on the back? Not that great, Therese. Not that great. Lots of spider legs sticking out. So I'm going to trim it up first. I'm sure this drives some of you crazy, and for that I apologize. I'm not a neat stitcher on the back. That's my El Guapo. I don't know if any of you remember the movie The Three Amigos with Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase. It's kind of one of our family favorites, and we use the term El Guapo regularly. El Guapo is this Mexican bandit. You know, he has like a whole bunch of, you know, he's the leader of a whole bunch of bandits, and they're kind of terrorizing the small towns, the town of Santa Poco. And so Steve Martin launches into a speech, you know, kind of near the climax of the movie, and you know, El Guapo and his men are coming. And he says, you know, that you have to overcome El Guapo. And he says, everybody has an El Guapo. For some, shyness is your El Guapo. For others, a lack of education is your El Guapo. For us, El Guapo is a bad guy who wants to kill us. And so we use the word El Guapo to mean, you know, it's one of my shortcomings or it's something I struggle with. So that's the story of El Guapo. That's why we say it. Well, this one didn't get measured quite right either. It might stretch a little. We'll see. Should be fine. Should be fine. I always forget to tell them I want the thicker foam core too. They usually cut I get acid free, but sometimes they give me, this is the thin foam core. I suppose part of the reason too mine are so cheap is that they may give me a deal on things like the foam core because it's really just they're using their scraps. Okay, this is going to have to come this way a little bit. long skinny pieces are harder to stretch, especially with the border. So this one, let's get this out of the way. This one's gonna be a little bit trickier, but I shall persevere and get it done. It's always fun to put those last stitches in a piece. Ooh, this is gonna be tight. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be real tight. I remember stretching, because I worked at a Great Frame Up when I was just right before my 16th birthday. And that would have been like 1986, January of 86 is when I started my job at the Great Frame Up. And people, we framed a lot of cross stitch because cross stitch was very popular in the 80s. And so we framed a lot of, precious moments and, flowers and just those geese with blue bows around their necks, that kind of thing. Because it was the thing to stitch. I keep waiting for geese with the blue bows to make a comeback. I wonder if I could design one that seemed updated. I don't know. So where was I going with that? Okay, so also we would sometimes get in crewel pieces. And I'm sure a lot of you remember the crewel work from that time period, like late 70s, early to mid 80s. You could buy crewel kits everywhere. They were very popular. And it was, kind of not always wool fibers. Crewel historically means wool, but it was, kind of heavy filled in stitching on a fabric. And usually the design was printed right on the fabric. But the problem was that some people would stitch these crewel pieces without a hoop or anything like that. And then their tension was tight. And so they had a whole bunch of bunchy stitches all together in this piece. And they were impossible to stretch. They just were impossible to stretch. And we had these boards that we would put them on, and we had a relaxer, I think, that we would use sometimes to help the fibers just calm down a minute so we could try to coerce them into place. I remember this one it was a deer, like a baby deer. What is a baby deer called? A fawn. It was a fawn with, maybe like lots of foliage around it and flowers and maybe some other animals. I'm not sure. But oh my gosh, that thing was a mess. I don't remember how that one ended up looking, but it couldn't have been good. And the sad thing is I'm sure a ton of work went into it. But if people, no, that will never do. I got off a little bit and it was veering to the bottom. You gotta watch out for these long skinny pieces. I wonder where that ended up, if it's in a landfill somewhere or in somebody's, I don't know where a piece like that ends up. Somewhere. And then we used to use this heavy brown, like 1 inch, probably 3/4 inch wide brown tape. It was like the brown of a grocery bag brown. And so, oh my gosh, we just put tape all over the needlework. Tape and sticky board, that's how we stretched. I had a person ask me this last week about the holes that you see in the edges of antique samplers. And I'll have to show, I said I was going to show it this week, but I forgot about it. So I'll do it another time. But they used to actually just nail. They didn't have sticky board in 1822, but they had nails and boards. So they would just nail the samplers to the board, and then what ends up happening is when you buy a sampler that's been taken out of its frame, is a lot of times it'll have rusty nail holes in it, which to me is charming. It's charming because it's reality. It tells you about the history of the piece. I wonder how we would feel today if you took your piece into the frame shop and you come back and they're nailing it. We used to use, we had needlepoint too. Needlepoint would come in and we would use a staple gun. And you would have to cut pieces of, I think they called it 3 want to say 3M board, but that can't be right. I think it had the number 3 in it. It was some kind of it was like mat board, but thicker and kind of just more dense. And so we would do a double or triple layer of that board and then kind of straighten the needle point. And a lot of times they had mats because, of course, you did mats. And, of course, they were mauve or country blue in the 80s. And so you would get it all straightened in there, and then you would ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk staple all the way around it. Which, I don't know. I mean, that's probably just, they probably still, I haven't framed needlepoint for forever. I know needlepoint finishing is very expensive. You can send it and have it professionally finished, like into a pillow or a belt or a brooch or a pterodactyl. But needlepoint is not easy to work with for framing, and that's for sure. Oh, no, that's too tight, Treese. This is where the finesse comes in, is getting this, you know, the edges are pretty straight, but now it's like you have to make sure the top and the bottom, there's a little give, and you want it to be straight all the way. So we're gonna try it. But you can see, I mean, really, once you get started stretching, once you've done it a few times, it doesn't take that long. It's not expensive to do. It's just time. So when you pay a frame shop to stretch a piece for you, what you're paying for mainly is their time. And they may not, you know, stretch needlework as often as other people, I guess. You know, if it's a frame shop where it's in a needlework store, they're going to be really good at it because they do it all the time. Nope, Tree, still not, still too tight. I'm gonna win. I can feel it. I'm gonna get it. Glasses of water are never safe. Fitz, how's my water? Oh, pets. The funny thing to me about cats is that I just love cats. I just love them. I just love them. I just love cats. But, you know, cats are funny because they don't eat everything. A dog will eat almost anything that you give it. Right, Fitz? He likes to also tip glasses of water over because it's, I don't know, it's fun. It's exciting. Does that make your tummy gurgle? So, cats won't necessarily eat everything. You can, you know, have a piece of, you can have a piece of, I'll put this away. Where can I put it? I'm going to put it up. Otherwise, we're going to have a mess on our hands. Okay. That's all you get, Fitz. That's all you get. Dogs will eat anything. You can be eating and launch something into the air to a dog, and it will catch it in its mouth and eat it, even though it's not really for sure. It doesn't know what you're throwing. You could throw a rock, and the dog would catch it in his mouth and try to eat it. Cats, you can, you know, be eating lasagna or something, and contrary to what Garfield will tell you, they're just like, they'll sniff it and walk away. But water in a cup, that is too much to resist sometimes. I've thought about getting one of those fountains, you know, because it's good to make sure your cats drink enough water. For sure. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I will sometime. We have friends that got one and their cats really like it. Okay, see, now this piece is cooperating. There we go. There we go. I will say one thing about stretching your own pieces is if you're doing a bunch in a row like I'm doing, or if you're stretching something really big, your finger will get sore from pushing the pins in, especially if you get kind of sometimes you get a piece of foam core where the foam on the inside of the board is particularly stiff or dense, or I don't know, dry or too wet or something, where it's just harder to push it in. I don't know, Therese. Keep at it. But, okay, I gotta do. But my fingers gave up a long time ago. They just know that I stretch needlework sometimes, and it doesn't, I don't know if I've developed some kind of callus or some kind of divot in my bone, but my fingers are pretty okay with it. Once in a while they'll get sore, but they're not sore right now. And I buy these pins $750 at a time. I get them at Hobby Lobby. They're nickel coated. And I've never had a problem with them. I've never had them rust, or I have had problems with the big brown tape we used to use. Oh man. And I remember one lady one time had us vacuum mount her needlework because it was cheaper. Bless you! We tried to talk her out of it. So basically, we put adhesive on the back of her needlework and ran it through a heat and vacuum press. And adhered it to the board that way. And that's probably not the best for your needlework, but if it makes you happy, if that's what you want. Doesn't hurt my feelings, I guess. Ooh, Treese, how is this going? This is the point at which it's good to check in the frame. Well, we're going to see. Okay, not bad. Not bad. It's tight on the sides. And it's not done yet, but it's looking pretty good. It's going to be cute. I'm not really sure what this means. Let's talk it out. So it says, if all our troubles were hung on a line, you would take yours and I would take mine. I don't know. What does that mean? Maybe it means like, you know, my troubles are my troubles and your troubles are your troubles. I can't take on your troubles and you shouldn't have to take on mine. We're responsible for our own troubles. Maybe? I don't know. I guess I should contact Lori and ask her what this means. Maybe it's an old saying. I don't really recognize where it's from. I don't know if she made it up or if it's whatever it is. I don't know. Comment below, I guess, if you think you know what it means or where it's from. We'll see what we figure out. I do like this one, though. It is really cute. She's also very talented. Lori Markovic from La Di Da. She's very, very sweet. She's she lives in Wisconsin. And she's very, very sweet. She's very sweet. And her husband always comes to the Nashville shows with her and helps sell her charts and everything. And they're both just good, earthy, honest folk. She always has really cool, she'll bring extra things that she makes sometimes to market. Like she made needle rolls one year. I have one. Maybe I'll show it on a future video. I'm going to show it right now. I'm going to get up again. Are you guys sick of me getting up yet? I know right where it is. So she makes these handmade things and sells them, but you know, they sell out pretty quickly because they're so cool. And I haven't ever used it. I got them for my shop and I sold all but one. And then I closed my shop and I still had this one left and I just decided to keep it. I really should put it in. Okay, so here's what it looks like. And she made this, so it's made to go like that. That there's this cool button. Okay, and then you unwrap the button. Okay, so and then it folds apart like that. And so it's got pockets here and here. Oh, that's actually, is it a snap? Oh no, it's two pockets. It's got a cute little rivet there. And then this is for needles. And then these little hoops, you can hang threads from that. And I haven't used it yet. And I think that's a Blackbird Designs fabric, isn't it? I'm going to leave that out so I use it for something. I need to use it because it's really, really cute. And they were, oops, and what is it? Oh, so this pin cushion here in the middle has something hard behind it. So it's a little bit stiffer. That is really, really cool. So you can't get them anymore, but every market she'll make something like that. Where, you know, I'm trying to think of what else. This 1 year, no, maybe 2 years, she made these lap desks where it was kind of a frame. was some kind of a frame or some kind of a box. And it had a padded part that's the part you would sit on your lap. And then I want to say the frame had something in it that you could put magnets on. So you could like attach your pattern to this lap frame. So you could sit and stitch with it in your lap and it would hold your pattern in place. And they were very inexpensive. And I bought a whole bunch and they sold out immediately. I didn't even get one. And I know that people who bought them, Sue, maybe if you're watching this, you'll show it in a future video because I think Sue bought one. But they were really neat. And I think she used to use it a lot. I don't know if she still does. But yeah, it's fun to see what people bring that's extra. Nikki Ferrato from Italy, from Nikki's Creations, she always brings stuff that she makes too. I bought a little crocheted needle book from her last market, and then Jen found me at a Needlework store one of the carrots that Nikki made one year that I really wanted, but she had sold out. So that's really cool. I got a little stuffed, it's like a velvet orange carrot or something like that. Really, really cool. I haven't used it yet. She just gave it to me recently. Patty from Samsara Designs one time made the neck heater things that you can heat them in the microwave, and then if your neck is, see, I want to drink of water. Now Fitz ruined it. Thanks, Fitz. Thanks, Fitz. I still love him. So she made these little neck warmers that were filled with corn, like field corn, which was a cool idea, and she had really cool fabrics. And then another year, Patty brought all of these buttons. I don't know where she found them. She found some, they were like vintage buttons or something that it was like, how it's like old, what do they call it? Like new old stock or old new stock? Old new stock, which just means like it's an old product, like real glass glitter or something, where it has been sitting in an abandoned factory or something. So it's still in its original packaging. It's never been used, so it's old, but it's new because it's still packaged. So she had these cool buttons, and you could buy a whole kind of plastic vial or glass vial of these buttons. And I think Sue bought a bunch of those too. I don't remember if I bought any. I wish I had. If I didn't, I don't know why I didn't, because they were neat. This is pretty straight. So, I'm trying to think of other things that people have brought that are neat. I do know, like, Old Colonial Designs had these kits that were available such a short time. And they came with a piece of Polish pottery. And Polish pottery is so cool. And you would finish this little pincushion and it would go into the Polish pottery. And that was one thing where Jen saw it and liked it, and she didn't buy it, and now it's kind of one of her unicorns where she wishes she had picked it up. And we've looked. I look regularly on eBay to see if I can find one for her. It would be fun to give her one for Christmas, but no one wants to sell their beautiful Polish pottery kit. And I don't blame them. Things like that are so special. They also, Old Colonial one year made wooden-headed dolls that came with a dress that you cross-stitched a little something on the apron, I want to say. And oh my gosh, were those nice. And why didn't I have one of those as well? They also sold very quickly. Okay, so this is, I think I'm going to be happy with that. The lines are perpendicular, and it's pretty straight. Let's fix over here a little bit. The nice thing about pinning as opposed to lacing, which lacing is totally great, I'm not very good at it, and it takes longer, is with pinning, and you can pin first and then lace and then take the pins out too. With pinning, you can make tiny adjustments here and there, which is nice. See, like this, this line is wanting to wave just a smidgy bit, and I want it to look straight. Who was I watching the other day? Lynette from Homesteading on the Homefront. She took some of her needlework to the county fair where she's at, and she caused a kerfluffle because she had tea or coffee stained her fabric, and the judges thought it was dirty. And then one of the other judges was like, no, it's supposed to be like this. This was intentional. And then she ended up getting a good ribbon for that. Okay, so I'm going to go grab my, I'm getting up again. This is my day. It's sitting down and standing up and sitting down and standing up. I got things to do, places to go, people to see. Is that right, Ty? But you know what? I've stretched 3 pieces already. I got 2 to go. You know. Somebody contacted me after I posted my first Stitch With Me video. And there's a way for you to here somewhere. I think there's a little cog right down here, like a little wheel. And you can make videos go faster. And the cool thing about the technology is that it speeds you up, but your voice stays the same. So like the sound, you know, sometimes they, like when they film Alvin and the Chipmunks, you play something to go faster. What do I have on here? Did that? Nope, I've got a stitch that's, all right. Ta-da! So with YouTube technology, they actually have it so that the voice doesn't sound higher. So it sounds like a normal video, but it's playing, you can play it, you know, just a little bit faster or faster than that and faster than that, whatever. It's got settings. And so that way you can speed through, you can watch a video in less time. So she had me on, I think, 1.5, you know, speed up, and she forgot. And she was like, I got so angry because you were stitching so fast. And I was like, why can't I stitch that fast? And then she realized she had sped me up. So I'll have to watch and see what that looks like. Because I bet that's kind of funny to watch somebody stitch really fast like that. Like a machine. Vanna was talking about, from Twisted Stitcher, she got one of those Juki sewing machines. And they are cool. It's just I think it only goes forward and backward. That's it. There's no zigzag, no buttonhole, no nothing. But they're made to just stitch like crazy. And so she loves it. I'm just going to, again, tack this in. I'll finish later. Just want to show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Pretty good, huh? It's very cute. 3. So what was I saying about the Juki? The Juki is made to like last, and it can stitch super fast. It's like the Ferrari of sewing machines. And she said she loves it. Sue got one too. She got it, she found it on Craigslist, and a woman it was one of those cases where it was somebody that was like, I have 6 sewing machines, and I just am realizing that I don't need 6 sewing machines. So she got a really good deal on it. I don't know where you get a Juki. Hi! Are you nice? Yeah, you are. You're a good boy. But Sue loves it, and I think she only paid a couple $100 for it, and she's just said it's just a machine. Just a machine. Now this piece I stitched on 40 count flax Newcastle. So it's this Weigert fabric. And I knew when I started it that I was going to over dye it. And this was very cute. At the frame shop when I took it, she was like, well, do you want us to frame out so you can see a lot of those stains? And I almost did. But I really like my needlework tight in the frame. That's the look I like these days. I look at some of my older framed pieces and I'm like, why did I have an inch showing? But it's just, that was the look at the time. Things change. Probably in 10 years, I'll be like, why didn't I give my pieces some room to breathe, for crying out loud? So this one was fun to stitch, and this was my first primitive hair piece that I've ever done, and I definitely would like to do other primitive hair pieces. She is so talented and so nice. It's always fun to go in her booth. She always has cool stuff, too, that she makes and brings, and then I think she has a friend that makes things to sell and contribute. So Isabel? Oh, that's too tight, Trees. She dyes fabric, so you can get really cool dyed fabrics, and then she has a company that prints on fabric for her, so you can get like, you know, where it's got printed words or printed snowflakes or whatever. They're really, really neat. Okay, let's just be a little more gentle. And then a friend of hers makes pins that are, you know, like have like animals on them. They're made out of like female clay. They're so cool. They are so cool. And then her husband makes all of these like thread palettes and horn books and things like that. And some of that I sell in my shop. And I love all of it. It's so neat. She just has a great style and she's so kind and sweet. Oh dear. Okay. There's a lot of give in this. Every fabric behaves a little bit differently. Some of them you're not able to really stretch it. You really are stretching. A lot of times I'm stretching this fabric. You don't think it's got a lot of stretch in it. And people worry about, you know, making sure all the wrinkles are ironed out. But really, I have found anyway, that when you stretch, it takes a lot of the wrinkles just disappear because you're stretching it. It pulls them out. Another thing that people used to do back in the day, back in the 80s, was put padding behind their needlework. And I kind of have been toying with the idea of doing it, trying it again sometime, just to see if I maybe like it again. You know how things get so retro that they're cool again? Maybe padding is cool again. I don't know. But this design didn't have very many colors in it, and it was just plain old DMC. So I was pretty sure it wasn't going to run if I overdyed it. And if it did, you know, if you have something that runs because you're cleaning it, you just have to rinse it and rinse it and rinse it until all of the bleeding stops. Because sometimes you think the bleeding has stopped and you let it sit on a counter or something, and then you realize that it didn't stop and now it looks terrible. Oh man, this is going to be cool. So this was a fun piece to do, and this was another one where it's like you stitch a little bit and you get a little bit, a square done here, a square done there. You don't have to switch colors too many times. A lot of these squares only used one color or maybe two colors, and so it wasn't a lot of switching. It was just a lot of stitching, which I like. It would have been cool to put a couple charms on this one, like sterling monstery charms. I got a couple of charms recently online, and I'm excited to go see her again. Michelle, I want to say it's called Michelle Inc. maybe. Anyways, I think it's Michelle Inc. is going to be at the Galleria show, and she makes really cool sterling silver charms, buttons, pins, bracelets, rings, necklace charms, things like that, all out of sterling silver that's reclaimed. And the cool thing about that is that it all comes from, I think, electronics mainly. You know, that there are precious metals they use in electronics, like to put a computer together and make it work. And a lot of that stuff is recycled these days. And so what they do is there are just these, you know, warehouses and things where they pull apart computers or whatever, and they recycle everything. The glass gets recycled, the plastics get recycled, the metal gets recycled, and all of these precious metals, like gold is in there too, get recycled as well. For example, Best Buy will take in your old electronics. So if you have a printer that's broken that you won't use anymore, old cell phones, old computers, whatever, you can take it there. They ship it to a central location, and then they strip it and they like grind it up, and they can do old, you know, a computer mouse, the keyboard, cords, whatever. You can take it and they recycle it. And so like a lot of the plastics get made into lawn furniture, and they turn a small profit. But I feel like I don't care if they turn a profit, because it's just something I don't need anymore anyway, and good for them for keeping it out of the landfill. It helps employ other people. It's good for our natural resources, and it's a good thing for them as a company to say, hey, you know what, we're creating products that we know have a shelf life or whatever, you know, that they'll be used for a while and then not used, and that they take the responsibility to make sure that those things can be responsibly disposed of. I don't think a lot of people know about it because every time I go to Best Buy to recycle something, they always act a little bit surprised or like a little bit, you know, like I'll be like, hey, I'm here to recycle a printer. And they'll go, she wants to recycle? And they're like, oh yeah, just take it to the back. So a lot of times the employee that you're talking to hasn't dealt with that before. And you can do it any day. And if you have trouble, carrying something or whatever, you can actually pull right up to the building and get someone to come out and help you. They'll take it out of your trunk for you. The last time I took a big printer in, they had sent a gentleman out to carry it, and I said, it's really heavy. And he said, okay, yeah, I got it. I said, okay, but it's really heavy. And he lifted it, and he was like, oh yeah, this is actually really heavy. I was like, I told you it's really heavy. But you don't have to have an appointment. They say you can only, there's a limit of 2 per day, 2 items that you can bring in for recycling per day. But honestly, I don't know that I've ever taken more than 2 things in a day, but I feel like if you showed up with 3, are they going to say, you're going to have to come back tomorrow? No. I think they probably don't want like a school coming up with 100 computers, that they're getting new computers and they want to drop them off. I'm sure it's a way of controlling that. Okay, ooh, this is going to be nice and tight. Look at how cute that is. Oh my gosh. Okay, how long have I blabbed at you guys? I'm going to blab at you just for a little bit longer. Maybe I can finish this up. If you're sick of me, you can always either speed me up or turn me off. Okay, oh man, is this cute. Yeah, this frame is perfect too. I love this frame. I haven't used it yet. It's cool and funny to me that, we have a lot of products that we make brand new that we make them to look like they're old. I remember back in the 80s, you could get 80s, maybe late 80s, early 90s, that Levi had buckshot jeans. I don't know if you remember those, where they actually took the jeans and I guess hung them somewhere and shot them with a shotgun. And so they would have, every pair of jeans had different blast holes where the jeans had been shot. I feel like those could make a comeback. I feel like they could make a comeback. It's very, that's hardcore, man. If you're into listening to like heavy metal and stuff, if you have jeans that have been shot by a gun, I don't know, it's just funny because like if you, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you would have said, you know what, in the, year 2000, we will have the technology to make, thousands of yards of fabric a day. And, we'll have all these fancy equipment, fancy fibers that you've never even heard of, polyesters and rayons and whatever. And then we're going to take those perfectly good products and we're going to shoot them with a gun and wear them and sell them for $100. It's probably good that there's no such thing as time travel because we would just make so many people unhappy. You're going to what now? Yeah, we're going to shoot our pants with a gun. Oh, Lord. But yeah, we like stuff that's, grunged up and looks worn. I think, it kind of all goes back to that idea of wabi-sabi that I've talked about in past videos, the perfectly imperfect. When something is worn looking, like you have stone steps in a cathedral that have been worn from the passage of time and the trampling of many feet. There's beauty in that. There's history in that. That's character. If you look at, an old woman, 100 years old with wrinkled hands and, wrinkled face and thin white hair, there's beauty in that because that's the passage of time. That's the, significance of making it through many experiences. But I think, we like to fake it. I don't know. I guess that's an appreciation of in a way of the beauty of things that have been well used and loved and worn. Sometimes in the sampler world, the antique sampler world, you'll come across an old sampler that's in amazing condition, that looks, as pristine as can be. And the cool thing about that is that you're seeing the sampler much as it would have looked, almost just like what it would have looked when it was finished. The sad part about that is that means somebody put that in a drawer and never looked at it. And so when you see these old samplers and they're worn and frayed and, you know, have spots and things, oftentimes that means, you know, it was hung and enjoyed. It was faded by the sun or the lights or, you know, whatever. So I don't know. I guess you can save things in a box and they'll be really, really pretty, or you can use them and they'll get worn. Oh, oh, oh. You don't want to drop a pin on the carpet. I remember cow magnets got to be a thing with stitchers. I forgot about that until just now. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember in our guild up in Fargo, North Dakota, that somebody gave everybody like a cow magnet. I don't know whatever happened to mine. But they make cow magnets, I guess, that you put them, you feed them to cows, or I don't know how you get the cow to swallow it. But essentially it's so that if the cow was out in a field and, you know, like was chewing, you know, pulling up grass and things and accidentally pulled up, you know, an old nail or something. Maybe this is an old wives' tale. This is what I was told. It sounds crazy, but it's probably true. That they would make the cow swallow the magnet, and then that way if the cow accidentally ate something that was metal and sharp or whatever, that it would just sit forever in their stomach and not try to work its way through their, you know, digestive tract, where it could cause real damage and, you know, hurt the cow or kill the cow or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, somebody got this brilliant idea that everybody should get a cow magnet because they're very strong. It's a really strong magnet, and they're like a little, you know, like a kind of a good sized, real strong magnet. And so this lady suggested that we use them to pick up, you know, like, have you ever spilled a whole box of pins? I have. And you're never really sure, like, did I get them all? Is it going to be okay to walk here? And so she just said you could use this magnet, you know, like if you drop your needle and you can't see it, if you pass this magnet over the area where you think you dropped it, the magnet is so strong that it can pull it even from a short distance. So I want to say that's what it was. I don't know if are cow magnets a thing? God bless them if it is. Poor cows eating metal out in the field. See, now that top isn't. I don't know. Am I going to be happy with that? We're going to keep going. Because I'm almost done with this one. And then I'll show you the last one. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to. I think the last one I really definitely have to pay more attention to because it's silk gauze and it's got a mat. And so I'm really going to need to sit at a proper table to get that one finished. I won't put hangers on these because why does that look weird? Because I'm going to use 3M strips to tack these to the wall at the show. So I'll put hangers on them when I come home. I'm taking, I want to say like 55 or so models. Lindy from the Silver Needle is bringing me back about 6 of them. She has some. She has my Anne Grant sampler and my Sarah Woodham sampler. And I want to say she's had those for like 7 or 8 years in her shop. I'm probably getting to a point where I kind of just would like to have them back. Because I took them to market the first time. And it's totally great. I mean, Lindy's always been super nice to me, and she has a great shop and a great business. But, you know, she often at market will ask if she can just borrow pieces to have in her shop, and that's fine with me. But, I don't know. It's always nice because she brings them to me at each show, and then at the end of the show, she picks it up again. And then sometimes she says, you know, like this one, I think we don't need this one anymore, so then she'll give it back. But those are some beautiful, beautiful samplers. So maybe this time I'll ask to have them back. I don't know. Okay, this is looking pretty good. This is another one that's tricky because it's got these really fine, around each square is a backstitched line with one strand of just DMC floss. But it's real easy. It's real easy. Anytime you've got a border, it's easy for that to just really not look stretched properly. Like down by these feet. there's like, can I let this up? There, that's a little better. Sometimes you have to be happy with slight imperfections, I guess. But I'm trying to decide with this top. I'm going to redo the top real quick. The line here looks straight, but the threads are angling a little bit to the side. And as wabi-sabi as I like things, that bugs me. I think probably, you know, you can all say like I'm type A or I'm type B. I would say I'm mainly a type B person. But I have type A tendencies. You know, I have certain things that really bug me. And, you know, so that's something that bugs me, is just slightly crooked lines. I used to get really bothered when people would mispronounce a word, especially if they were giving a public speech. And it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you still know what they meant. You got to give people a break sometimes. But for some reason, that was on my list of things that bugged me. Okay, let's see. There we go. This is going to be better. Yep. Ooh, let's see. Okay. I don't like to buy dented cans or dented boxes of cereal. That bugs me. Another thing that always bugged me was I never could understand, like when I went to a little friend's house as a girl, that they could just have naked doll babies like thrown in their toy box and on their bed and stuff. I could never let my Barbies or my dolls be naked because I was like, ooh, they don't want to be naked all day. And I would make sure whenever I put them away that they were in a comfortable position, sitting, you know, with their arms tucked in, because I didn't want them to be stuck, you know, for a day in an uncomfortable position. So I didn't like just throw them all on top of each other or anything, because that's not comfortable. And I would say I still would do that. If I had dolls today, I would still make sure that they were comfortable. So, but I wonder if, you know, like there probably are a lot of type B people that have some type A tendencies. Are there type A people? Do they sometimes have type B tendencies where there are certain things that they're like, you know what, this doesn't matter? We're all on a spectrum somewhere, right? Ooh, I'm almost done. Guys, this is awesome. Sit here and talk to you and knock out 4 stretchings. And then I'll close these up and we'll be good to go. And I'm going to do that. Like I said, I'll show you this little silk gauze piece. But they had ordered the frame an eighth of an inch the wrong size or something. She mismeasured it by a little bit. So they had to reorder the frame. I don't even remember what the frame looks like. But I'll show you the piece. I had to have it matted because the silk gauze piece is really small. And it would have been fun. My initial idea was to put it in a really deep frame. I don't know why I didn't do this. I could have. I guess I forgot. To put it in a really deep frame, and then you could stand it up, you know, like put it on a shelf. Ooh. Ta-da. I'm going to put it in here and we'll show it off. And this looks really great. I'm so glad I over-dyed this. It just kind of is like the how you say it, the pièce de résistance. The je ne sais quoi. So anyway, they cut the frame a little bit little bit too big or a little bit too small. I can't remember which. I had to have it matted because they said we can't make a frame this small because we might cut our fingers off. And that's fair. I respect that. All right, are you ready to see this one? Ho ho! Spooky countdown! That's really, really, really cute. That's really cute. So, good job. Primitive hair. Love it. Okay, so I'll show you this last piece and then I'll shut up for now. Because I need a drink of water. Fits. Pooper. Okay, so this is Love, Faith, Hope, Charity, Honor, whatever, by Kathy Barrick. I have these in my Etsy, or not my Etsy shop. I have these in my shop, my Wix shop. And I stitched them on silk gauze. So that's what they look like. What can I do for reference? Here's a couche ball for size reference. So you can see that it's pretty small. Do I seriously have anything that's, it's small, right? Here's my finger. This is a little tiny piece, but they're so super cute. So the mat that they picked out was a fabric. Oh, they back cut it. They did back bevels. That's really cool. I didn't notice that. I dig it. That's really awesome. And I've got enough silk gauze that I will be able just to stretch it normally. Sometimes you have to, like, if you're going to mat it bigger, you might have to add fabric and stretch it that way. But they were hoping that the frame would be in Monday or Tuesday before I leave. If not, I told them not to fret, that I can totally just stretch it, and I've got some displays that I can put it in just like this, and it'll be fine. The edges will be wrapped around, so they'll just see the piece. But okay, ladies, mainly ladies, some gentlemen. 1% of you are gentlemen or are using a gentleman's account. It was fun to hang out with you, and I won't be making a video again until I get back from Galleria. Well, I'll be shooting footage, but you won't see me for a little bit. So if you get lonely for me, think of me fondly. And I hope you have a great week with lots of stitching. Fitz and I are going to get back to work. Right, Fitz? I guess I will. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.